I always say persistence and passion will win every single time. You don't have to be the smartest cookie. Like, stay focused and just keep on going.
Welcome back to the Badass CEO. This is your host, Mimi McLean, and today we have on Tera Peterson, and she's a co-founder of NuFace, the leader in at-home microcurrent skincare. They offer a range of award-winning devices and topical skincare products that deliver clinically tested professional results and skin confidence to the clients everywhere. In 2005, Tera launched NuFace and successfully launched NuFace Classic, the first handheld home use microcurrent device cleared by the FDA. She started this company with her mom and her sister. So we talk nitty gritty today about doing business with family, how to get the FDA approval, and everything in between. Thank you so much, Tera, for coming on. I'm excited to talk to you. You're the co-founder of NuFace. And so I would love for you to talk about why you decided to start the company and what you were doing before and all that good stuff.
So we're a family-owned company. It's my mom, my sister, and I. And we started the company in 2005. So I was 5 years out of college. So very fresh and new and, to the business world, and really didn't know what I was doing. Perfectly honest. I say that NuFace has been my MBA because I learn as I go. I mean, luckily I have a spidey sense for business, as well as just a love for the beauty industry and NuFace. So long story short, before NuFace, I was doing sales and I had some great training out of college. I got my business degree from UST and just loved business, everything about business, just so fascinated with it. I was doing sales for a temp agency and I was just unsatisfied with where I was going and what I was doing. And again, I was 23, 24 at the time. And I called my mom up one day and said, hey, let's create NuFace together, which, by the way, my mom's an esthetician as well. She's been working with microcurrent since the 1980s. She would take her big professional machine from San Diego all the way up to LA 3 days a week and treat the most beautiful faces in Hollywood. And she did this for almost 20 years of traveling from San Diego to LA. And during this time, she really realized the need for at-home microcurrent, because if you're not familiar with microcurrent, think about it as fitness for your face. So microcurrent is a low-level electrical current that goes in and stimulates the facial muscles. It's very soothing, very relaxing. It's actually very therapeutic and meditative, clients tell me. But it instantly lifts, tones, and contours your face. And some of us don't realize that on your face, your skin and your muscles are connected. And so what microcurrent does is it stimulates the facial muscle. So in turn, it takes the skin with it. So it gives you a non-invasive facial lift. So she was playing with the idea of creating an at-home device that her clients could use in between her professional treatments. And so that's when I had called my mom up and said, hey, let's do this together. I'm going to go to esthetician school. I want to learn the industry inside and out. And so we did it. And as I was practicing as an esthetician, I was writing the business plan for NuFace. So we launched our first device in 2005.
That's amazing. And so, there is so much restriction, right? You had to do the FDA financing. You're making it sound so easy, but there are so many hurdles to come over to get that. Can you talk about the legal part of it and then also the financial part of it?
So, this is 2005. So the beauty industry was very different. There was no social media. Mm-hmm. So the competitiveness of the beauty industry wasn't what it is today. And so we didn't come from money. We also didn't have access to money as well, and so my mom actually just tapped into some of her clients and we raised a couple $100,000 in 2007 to help grow the business. So even to this day, NuFace hasn't raised any money. So in 2007, we raised some friends and family, and that's all we've raised in, the last 17 years.
That's amazing.
We've done it very homegrown, grassroots. I always say we live within our means. However, we're able to do a lot with a little. And of course, as we've grown, we've been able to invest more and more and more into marketing of NuFace. But really how NuFace grows is by word of mouth. It's our clients that tell their friends about NuFace, and their friends tell their friends about NuFace. And in 2007, we actually got FDA clearance. And so that's a whole story in itself. But I had approached the FDA and said, hey, I believe that FDA clearance could be a really point of difference for NuFace as a company. One, it could be a medical device, has the stamp of approval by the FDA. But what I didn't realize is there's 3 different categories of the FDA. You have a class 1, a class 2, and a class 3. I was thinking, I can just send a letter and maybe fill out a little application online. Again, I always say I was young and dumb,
Yeah, that's the best way to be, because sometimes you wouldn't have done it if you knew what you had to do.
Perfect time to start a company.
Right.
You have no risk, right? So anyways, 6 weeks later, they came back and said, you are a class 2 medical device. Stop selling your device immediately in the US.
Oh, shoot. So you totally gave them
So we stopped selling NuFace. We thought it was the end of our world, and my mom's like, let's go move to Switzerland.
And she's probably mad that you tipped them off. She was probably like, they would never have known if we didn't ask for the approval.
She was never mad at me she was never mad at me. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why NuFace has been successful is she's really kind of let me do my own thing with NuFace and growing it as a business. And, we make mistakes, but the mistake is actually not a mistake. And making NuFace the first and only handheld device that was FDA cleared, we really paved the way for all future devices. Because if you're creating a biological change in the skin, you have to have FDA clearance. And so it really becomes a staple of all of our partners ask, is there an FDA clearance? Because it really gives the consumer, our client, that stamp of approval that NuFace is safe and it's effective. And that's the same for any device, again, that creates a biological change in the skin, because you're putting technology into your skin, right? It's not a topical product. And so you don't want to do any damage. You want to make sure that the manufacturer is abiding by good manufacturing processes. They're documenting, they're doing clinical studies. And so the FDA clearance really gives our clients, again, that stamp of approval that what they're buying from NuFace works and it's safe.
Now, how long did you have to wait between when they told you to stop to when you could start selling again?
6 months.
Okay, that's not that bad, right?
But
that's it. But you couldn't do
my mom's livelihood, my livelihood, and my sister's livelihood.
So what did you do during that 6 months?
Luckily, we still had clients. And so I was doing facials, my mom's doing facials, and my sister was kind of the assistant. And we also had some international sales. So FDA is only a US FDA clearance. And so not every country in the world requires FDA clearance. And so there was kind of some other sales coming in, but the bulk of what we were doing was by treating clients in the treatment room.
That's great. Now, how is it working? I mean, you have an interesting, I haven't talked to that many out of the 80 people I've talked to on this podcast. I think there's only been a small handful of people that are working with family members. So how is that working with your sister and your mom? Has there been any hiccups? Has it been seamless? Is it in writing? Any scoop that you can give us with that?
I mean, let's face it, if I said there wasn't any hiccups, I would be completely lying. And if someone says that there's not hiccups when you work with family, think of Succession,
Yeah, that's they always tell you don't work with friends or family because it's going to end not well.
Right. I mean, luckily for us, yes, we've gone through our ups and downs and, but we've always kind of fell into our roles and responsibilities because we're all very different. So my mom is very spiritual, very kind of in tune. Obviously, she's the first creator of NuFace, but, can't operate a computer or her iPhone, so operating a business like this, it would be difficult, but I come in and I'm like, this is the stuff that I absolutely love, the marketing, the sales, more of the technical aspect to NuFace. And my sister is a whiz. I mean, she keeps everything turning and burning. So she's in operations. So she's making sure that everything's getting shipped out. By the way, her husband works for us too. We all have very different talents. And so we all come together and it's this perfect, trifecta. And so we learned that early on, but, there's always peaks and valleys and challenges in the early years. I mean, my sister and I yelling and screaming at each other like true sisters do, but you get through it, and we all really believe in each other and know that we all have the best interests of NuFace in mind always.
That's great. That's good to hear. Because sometimes it doesn't end so well, right? But it seems like you guys have a good balance. Are you able to get a patent?
Yep. So we have design patents on NuFace. And so the look, the feel, part of the uniqueness of NuFace is that you can deliver microcurrent in 5 minutes. And so that's part of the design that we have. And of course, you've seen knockoffs in the industry that tried to mimic our spheres, but really that's like the secret sauce is the technology itself. Microcurrent isn't patentable, but the delivery system and the design of it is.
That's great. Now, what would you say to anyone who's listening, who's, recently started out or is thinking about starting a business? Like, what has been your biggest challenge to date? And, what have you had to give up, like hardships as far as like growing this company?
Well, I mean, I think that being an entrepreneur, like you put everything in it. And as we were talking earlier, as you have a family, there's distractions, but NuFace is my first baby. So I have twins that are 5 years old. NuFace is 17 years old, so I find myself really consumed with NuFace like 24 hours a day. And I know that takes, a toll on the family. So I'm trying to be a little bit better with like the balance and really separating. And now with social media, like there's an always on mentality. So I'm really trying to practice like putting my phone away and really being in the now, which is really, really hard for me.
Yeah, that is hard. Like being able to like turn it off and knowing, because you always want to keep going. You can keep going and it never stops. And if people don't if you don't respond to somebody over the weekend, they're like, question mark? You're like, it's a Saturday, leave me alone. Right.
And with social media, I mean, it's 24 hours a day, and so, and I really like to be involved because I think that we're still a younger company. And so there's so many clients that don't know about NuFace. And so I like to make sure that I have my hands in what's going on and hearing what clients have to say.
Yeah. And then you bring up a good point, because I feel like a lot of times when I look at, I don't know if you know this, but I'm an angel investor. And I have a lot of times when people come to me and I have this great idea, I'm building this great website. And I'm like, okay, but how are you going to find, like, where are you getting the eyeballs from? And they're kind of like, huh? Like, oh, I'm just going to advertise. So what, I'm like, it's not that easy and it's super expensive to get eyeballs. So what have you used to get clients or customers?
I mean, as I mentioned, a lot of it is word of mouth. And so, I mean, back in the days of non-social, it was clients were telling their friends about NuFace. Now it's through still friends, but it's a community and the influencers that are telling their followers about NuFace. So that really is the main area where we really focus is on social. I think the demonstrable aspect of NuFace, like I literally can lift your face or you can lift your own face and see that instant lift, tone, and contour. And you're seeing that on your phone instantly in the matter of 2 minutes. Like people get really excited about that. There is an influencer who just posted about NuFace a couple weeks ago on TikTok, and it's gotten like 7 million views. And and then it's like TikTok made me buy this, so it's just a girl in her room lifting her face and going, oh my gosh, like look at my cheekbones, look how tight this side of my face looks compared to this side. So that word of mouth is really where we focus.
Now, for anyone who's listening, I know there's a lot of different like affiliate programs. Is there any that you use to be able to work with these, influencers?
We get influencers emailing us every single day. And so we do different platforms like Grin and some different like systems, but really it's from again, clients coming to us saying, hey, I have this many followers on Instagram or TikTok. And so we send them over to our partnerships, and then they make the magic happen. But I still like to do it like old school, if that makes sense. Like there's different like platforms that we can use, but again, that word of mouth is the authentic way for NuFace. I don't want to go and be like, oh, I'm going to spend $100,000 for you to post about NuFace. We've done that before and it just never converts.
No, that doesn't work. I think that people are better off like now where you can join like share a sale or one of those things where they track the tracking, but still it's like you're using more their own stories, but they're able to track the sales and get it that way versus I don't think paying the full like amount like you're talking about. And you don't see the sales. It doesn't come back. I have never seen it.
No, I mean, and consumers are smart these days. I mean, they know when like something's BS and when something's actually authentic and when someone really, really loves a product. And so, yeah, that authentic love, I think, again, is why NuFace has grown.
Yeah, totally. Now, I'm not sure if you know this statistic or not, but only 1.7% of female founded companies ever reach $1 million in sales, which is super low. I would love to know like what you think would be a reason why someone is successful. Like what made you guys successful? What made you reach that number versus somebody who doesn't, who probably has just as good an idea, but something was missing. I have seen now talking to a lot of women, there is a trend. There is a reason why. There's a common link, but I'd be curious to see what your take is.
So I have a couple things. I mean, one, I always say persistence and passion will win every single time. You don't have to be the smartest cookie, like stay focused and just keep on going. I also think that some people want the illusion rather than what's actually like happening in the business. Like, work within your means. Like, don't try to, look like you're a $200 million business when you can't pay your bills, or don't be purchasing something that we've always worked within our means. And as you do that, you can grow, and then start to invest more into your business. And so, I think that we're also really focused. We don't try to be everything to everybody. And I think that's another aspect of, I've seen other brands start here and then go over there. And you're like, I'm not getting the connection. And so I think staying really focused, one, allows you to prioritize as well as to be lasered on like, what are those objectives that you're trying to hit? And so I think being focused in what we are, we specialize in microcurrent, and we've always done that. And I think so NuFace is known for microcurrent. And when people want microcurrent, they know NuFace for that offering. So those are a few. I'd love to hear what your hypothesis is.
Well, I definitely is persistence, I think, and adaptability, like not giving up, because it's not easy. And it's, when I have these different successful women on, I don't want to say they make it seem easy, but in half an hour it's boiled down and it's like, oh, I'm successful. And they don't realize what they've had to give up. If it's time with their kids, if it's vacations, if it's, eating, for the 5th day in a row, peanut butter and jelly, whatever it is, but you don't see that like, or they're on the brink of failure 10 times, but they come back. So I think persistence is definitely an adaptability is like, hey, I'm not going to fail. What do I need to do? And no is not even an option. You just keep going. I definitely think that is one. And I think the other one is getting mentors. I think a lot of women don't have mentors, and twice as many men have mentors than women. I think women tend to do it like on their own. They don't want help because they feel like showing their cards is a thing of weakness. So they don't want to show their cards. They don't want to ask for help. They're used to just doing it all.
I'm a huge fan of mentors. I've had them throughout my career, and especially starting off younger and not having an example of like, hey, this is how you should run a business, or the metrics that you should be looking at, or so on and so forth. So I've always loved to network, and with that, have had a few different mentors throughout my career, but I think that is, I mean, even now I have a CEO coach that is an amazing mentor. And there's always something that comes up. And what I like about having a mentor is you don't feel like you're alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to like row your own canoe. So you have someone that can really help problem solve. And honestly, you can save so much money by having a mentor because they could help you not make some of the mistakes that typical like entrepreneurs could make,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, I could go down the list of mistakes that I've made.
There's a lot, right? And they're expensive and it's time and it's taking over market cap or share, you know, it's just the list goes on of what can happen by just making silly mistakes, right? It's like, it's kind of like redoing a house or doing construction on the house. Like once you do it once, you're like, okay, I'm not making that mistake again. Next time I know to ask this, this, and this. And right. So it's the same thing. It's just anything in life. That's why people like going on the same vacation, the same place, because they have their restaurants figured out, or they know where this is and that is, right? You're not spending time re-navigating. How did you find your CEO coach? Like for people who are looking for one, like is word of mouth, or did you have a place that you went to?
So it was word of mouth. So a guy that worked for me for 8 years actually went over to another company and were doing CEO coaching. And he told me about what they do with creating focus, having quarterly meetings. And so all the leadership is present for the quarterly meetings to create, hey, here's the focus for the year. Here are the milestones. Here's the initiative. So everybody's
on the same page.
Everyone's on the same page. And I can't tell you, like, this is the first year that NuFace has done it. And it's helped so much because there's so much opportunity, but not all opportunity is going to have the same reward. Right. Mm-hmm. And so maybe you're enjoying an opportunity, but maybe there's a low return on that where you could be putting a lot of that energy into another initiative that could be generating, you know, tenfold for you. So it's a whole system. So it was a word of mouth and it's CEO coaching if anybody wants to look it up, but I highly recommend them. And they have different specialties and, you know, just like with any coach, you want to make sure that there's a rapport with each other because we had one coach before and it wasn't there. So I was like, no, doesn't feel right. And then sure enough, this coach, Alberta, that I've been with for almost 2 years. I mean, all I have to say is every time I haven't listened to him, I've kicked myself for doing it, for not listening to him.
Wow.
And it could have saved me millions and millions of dollars.
That's crazy. That's good though. That's good that you now have that relationship with him. But you bring up a good point because I don't know if you've ever heard, I think it was Elon Musk that did a TED Talk I don't know if he wrote an article, a TED Talk, but I listened to it on a TED Talk and it was about about aligning like a vector. So think of like your employees as vectors. And if you don't give them direction, you guys are all going in different vectors. And so you add up like if one vector is doing 5, 3, 2, you add that all up, it becomes minuses. Whereas if you give everybody the same direction, all the vectors are going in the same direction. So now you can add them instead of subtract them because you're all going forward. You're not pushing. It's not kind of like sometimes when you're doing something and you feel like, wait, why did I feel like I was working all day? But this person behind me, like literally undid everything I did. And it's just like, I had to fix it.
Totally.
So it's like, if you get everybody on the same page, and it's actually not as hard as you think to do that.
It's so true. It's not as hard as you think. And I'm a big numbers person too. And you need to have all the initiatives and the deadlines. You know, it's like, hey, you know, we always talk about SMART goals at NuFace, especially as we're creating our MBOs for the year and setting goals for the employees. And I want everything to be measured. You know, you could be like, oh, I'm going to run a marathon. You know? Okay, so when are you going to run a marathon? You know, what's that date? Like, so it's like you have that goal in sight. And so when you're creating goals for yourself or for your company, you know, write down those deadlines because everyone has a different expectation of when that's going to be due. You know, maybe it's important to you, but it's not important to someone else potentially. And so you're saying, where is it? But the other person's working on 5 other jobs and it's not a priority. And so making sure that everybody is on the same page with deadlines and making sure those initiatives, those top focus are actually a focus that's going to have the highest return for you.
Do you use a particular program, like an online program that keeps everybody like on the same page?
No, we use an Excel document.
Got it.
It's super
You know
easy.
what I just found, and I'm loving it? It's called Notion.so or IO, Notion.so. And it's a place where you can keep all your documents, but like you can have like a dashboard for your company. So it has like what our objectives are for the year. What is our mission? All of our documents are here. What are all of our measurable, things that we want to, like, whatever you want, but it's all in one place. And then they can put the tasks in there and everything, but it's
Notion.com.
No, it's either SO or IO, Notion. I think it's SO.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, it's good because you just want to get everybody. I was at this mastermind group and they were talking about it, like just putting everybody on the same dashboard so they can all see what you're striving for in one place. I mean, it's kind of like Google Doc, but it's a little bit more user-friendly and prettier.
I love that. I'll look that up.
But this has been amazing. Thank you so much, Tera. I really appreciate your time. And I'm trying to think, I think we have everything covered unless there's anything else you want to talk about or mention before we jump off.
No, it was great. And hopefully I'm giving someone at least a tidbit of tips and tricks that they can take with them to make their business even more successful. So thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.